guys, welcome back to EAK TV. I'm delighted to have Barry James with us today, the founding chair of BBFTA. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So I guess the first thing our viewers are going to be thinking of, if they don't know already, could you tell us a bit more about what BBFTA stands for and what it actually is?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it stands for both ways. So the letters stand for the British Blockchain and Frontier Technologies Association, which is a bit of a mouthful. It is what it says, an association, but it's broader than just blockchain. So, we're kind of evolving and developing. We're launching the first online network, think LinkedIn on steroids, but for blockchain and AI and all of the frontier technologies together. So that's what it's about.
Okay. So when you say you're building this LinkedIn of blockchain, you mean people that work in that industry or something, or software that's based on AI and blockchain itself? Okay,
so where we're coming from is it's clear to me and to my colleagues and co-founders that actually we're at a really interesting point in history where we're rebuilding the internet. We're remaking money. We've never done these things consciously in the past. We were kind of stumbling around in the dark when the web came, and money just kind of arose through lots of sequential steps through history. But this is where we are. And actually, we should consciously come together and work out what kind of world we want to make. So, which is why this is we've redesigned the whole idea of an association, right? So I won't say it's decentralized. I hope it will be, either when we find out how to do that exactly. But in a sense, it is, because what we're doing is we're calling out to not just the technologists and the geeks, but also the people in the areas that are going to be disrupted and decentralized. And we're saying, okay, let's work together. So this is a very inclusive, open network, open to the world. It's British, this is where it comes from, but it's for the world.
Okay. And so is this an association that like anyone with any interest can join, or is it like a closed group?
No, pretty much. We're very focused on blockchain and frontier technologies, but anyone can join. So a student can join. And we've got we'll be launching membership levels. We've got some really interesting companies like Pillar are joining today. We've got BlockPass. We're affiliated with the Gibraltar Equivalent Association already. We've got hundreds of members already, and we're just launching today.
Great. Okay. Oh, you're launching today.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. So, and then what's will you guys like have events, or like is it paid membership, or how does it work?
Okay. So we'll be having events and hackathons and a whole series of things, but we know that people relate to this stuff best through their own industries, through their verticals. So there'll be lots, and what we're doing is we're going to draw people and draw on their interests and skills and bring them together. And then we'll be able to help create online events and offline events within those industry verticals. I was just talking to one of the companies here today who've got, I think, about 3,000 engineers, with fantastic skills in, some of them, dual skilled in AI and blockchain. So we'll be drawing on those sorts of folks to kind of help push the edges, bring people together, around use cases and so on.
Okay. And obviously, you've obviously got a British lens on this. So how healthy do you think the British market is right now? Not the market, the British talent pool, the British industry as a whole, in terms of blockchain, AI. Obviously you hear a lot about AI, blockchain, especially in Asian markets, etc. But in terms of the British pool of talent and British industry and British interest, and obviously regulation, or if it's going to come or not, how do you see Britain's path, in this space?
Yeah, let me start by saying that Britain has played, if you look back historically, I guess you could call it a genius role in the world. We've been the source of a lot of innovation and ideas, and we should continue to do that. We should continue to offer that to the world, and that's part of the vision here. And as far as how we're doing, it's a mixed bag, right? I've been heavily involved over the last few years in fintech and in crowdfunding, and we had to fight very hard. I wrote an article back in 2012 when people were trying to kill crowdfunding off, the regulator was trying to kill crowdfunding off. Right. And I said, we shouldn't do that. We should have an innovation. We should flip it on its head. We should instead have an innovation unit within the regulator. And everyone laughed, and we knew they would. And guess what? We kept on, and 2 years later, we got an innovation unit within the regulator. And now we actually lead the world in this. We're the envy of the world. But we've hardly made a beginning. We've got stuff that I've written about. I write for City AM every week and one or two other publications about one of the issues is around, bank accounts being closed for companies that are in any way involved with cryptocurrencies. What are we thinking? Do we want to drive those companies away? Do we want to drive people away? We saw that with crowdfunding. I have to say, though, that sitting here just a couple of weeks or so after the beginning of the FCA consultation, I am encouraged. I don't think people have kind of realised what's quite in that consultation yet. It's actually positive in many ways. Didn't go far enough, but I was listening to a session earlier on where one of our lawyer friends was trying to convince everyone. He's actually trying to bully everyone into saying every token is a security token, which is nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. I mean, the SEC think this, but it's still nonsense. But actually, there's recognition for exchange tokens. There's recognition for utility tokens in the UK now. So they're not dead. Everyone still thinks they're dead. They're not. And of course, there are going to be security tokens as well. So in terms of talent, in terms of activity, we're absolutely well placed to lead the world. We do need to get our act together, though. It's one of the reasons I'm here. Yeah,
okay. So would you say that the UK is kind of looking at potentially how the other smaller EU jurisdictions are implementing, laws and the industries. So, for example, like Malta, for example, do you think the UK is maybe looking at them as like a experiment to see how it's working, and then taking the good things and then obviously implementing that into their own legislation?
I think there's an element of that, but I actually think it goes beyond that. Okay. So I think it's really clear that when you kind of look at the history of the internet and of the web, that there's new forces at play, and gradually, before that, being size was the determining factor for success. Being a behemoth was the biggest survival factor. Now it's agility. And these small, agile jurisdictions who sometimes can start almost from scratch have a huge advantage over the US and to an extent over us as well. And I think it's very clear to me what's going on in a lot of this is not just, we'll see how they do it and see if it works. It's also, actually, if we don't do it, they will. And if they're doing it and the world starts to move towards them, then we're out in the cold, because being big isn't the defining factor. So I actually think it's opened the world up to ideas and innovation in a way that actually I did predict, but a lot of people haven't even perceived, let alone expected.
Okay. And how do you see? I mean, everyone's talking about STOs now. It's like it's going out of fashion. Me personally, I'm quite excited to see this new STO era come in. Obviously, because working PR, seeing the ICO scams, which has basically made lots of journalists not even want to write about cryptocurrency anymore, which makes our job 10 times harder. I'm sure you'll have access to as well. So how do you see this STO market coming in? Do you think that we're going to see like a mania craze like we did at the ICO stage, or do you think it's going to be more, what do you say, less of an exponential rise?
Okay, I think overall we're in the second phase of the hype cycle, right? So the first phase is wild enthusiasm, right? And actually, moving faster than reality and development can catch up, and certainly user experience can catch up. So we're kind of being accelerated out of that a bit by the things you were just talking about into a kind of, the despondency phase a little bit. but that's when things get built, right? So the people who are doing it now are the people who are likely to be building a lot of this future. And ultimately, look, there's no real question of where this is going, right? So I was commenting to someone earlier on, you wouldn't think it to hear them talk, but in chancelleries and ministries and finance ministers around the world are scratching their heads trying to work out what to do about this stuff. In 5-10 years' time, just about every currency will either have a shadow cryptocurrency or will be overtaken by and become a cryptocurrency. They're just dominantly fitter. Why wouldn't that happen? But it's not just about crypto; it's about blockchain as well. And this miasma of fear. I mean, if you're old enough, you may not be. I can't remember. I don't know. But I'm old enough anyway to remember when this happened with the web. Yeah. When you go into a boardroom and actually there'd be a black cloud, and people wouldn't want to talk about this because, well, it's for pornography and this. I don't think we had the term dark web there, but we certainly had the concept. Yeah. So it's this, there's the same process because, let's face it, incumbents like it the way it is, and. It's part of being an incumbent. You've got to be very open-minded as an incumbent or be very convinced that the world is going to change before it's, you see things differently.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so obviously you just mentioned that you were around in the web boom. I don't think I was old enough to experience that. I was probably too busy watching football. So where do you think we are then in terms of in the blockchain crypto world, in terms of you've obviously seen that whole life cycle of the web boom from boom to, where it is today. So lots of people are always looking at graphs going like, oh, we're here. Where do you think we are, from a man of experience?
Yeah, I was around. I was one of those very, very few crazy guys going around telling people about this. Web thing, and you say it's going to take over, it's going to be mainstream. Get out of here, way back. So we're not there. But we're not that far on from there, in parallel. So we're probably around 1998-ish. We're really at the beginning. The mainstream doesn't get it yet. They haven't even really worked out that they're never going to understand what goes on under the hood, unless you're an engineer. You're not going to do that, but that doesn't stop you driving your car. No. And actually, people want to be, told the maths so they can be convinced, and that's not going to, unless you're a mathematician, that's not going to happen for you. Yeah. We haven't quite got to the stage yet where the mainstream go, okay, no, we can see now for ourselves that this is, going to be really significant for everyone, and start to engage with it properly. We're not far off, I hope and I believe. But, as I said earlier on, I just hope it's going to happen rather more consciously. We're going to be able to engage with folks, not just geeks, not just technicians, not just mathematicians and people from over here, but actually people from the mainstream who can see the potential for, well, one of my themes is global public infrastructure. With this stuff, we can create national, regional, local, and global infrastructure that is not like toll roads like we have now in the financial system and lots of other places, but highways. And, once we've got that, in terms of an explosion of economic activity and human creativity, wow, it's a different world.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So what do you think the catalyst will be then? You mentioned that it's not we're not there yet. The mainstream doesn't quite understand how it all works, which they don't need to. But what do you think will be? Do you think there will be one DApp or that drives adoption, and suddenly from there we'll go, or do you think or do you think it will just be a slow, steady growth?
Yeah, this is one of the things I'm really interested in. I think if we stay on the course we're on, we'll probably get the world we don't want. We'll probably get the world that is, as it has been, not terribly sustainable, in fact not sustainable at all, that just goes faster and costs less money and makes more money for incumbents. That, for me, is the risk of the road we're on, and it's a high risk in my view. I think there is the opportunity still to come together, because for this to happen, we need mass adoption. Yeah. And I don't think you knew this when you asked the question. Maybe you did. Your research is better than I'd realised. But we are preparing to launch. We'll be talking about it a little bit today. The World First Task Force. So what's that about? That's about the fact that we are moving to this other world, and it's going to be one or the other broadly, or some, those are the two extremes. And we want it to be a world without toll roads. We want it to be highways, and we want to bring people together, and we want to make mass adoption happen, because the ecosystem needs it. Most of the people in the ecosystem need it, but we're all off in different directions, and baldly, it's nobody's job. And we need to come together. We need to make it someone's job, and we need to have a strategy, and we've got an outline strategy already, and we need to take this into the mainstream on the mainstream's terms. And if we think they're going to wake up one day, and I'm an optimist as well, like most Greek geeks and ex-geeks, I suppose in my case. Yeah. I think people are going to grow to love it because I do, but that's not going to happen. People aren't going to wake up one morning and go, wow, I've woken up, I love blockchain. Actually, if they're given something that takes away the toll road, they don't care. But if it actually works better, or cuts the cost, or does something that they couldn't have before, different story.
So when you say you're creating this task force, like, can you tell us more about what that task force involves? Like, who is in this task force, and what are you guys planning to achieve there? Well,
I can't, because it's a leak and it's a closely guarded secret. Well, it's not quite, but we're working up to that. So there's a group of people that have come together, that are going to be working together on this. We're going to have task forces on things like the poverty trap, and on health, and on these. The first one, though, is going to be mass adoption. So we're working on it right now, and we're going to be inviting people at the end of today to come to a summit meeting that we're setting up. And so this is all a leak, basically.
Great, that's good content. So, and is this just a British task force, by the way, or is this international?
Global in nature.
Global nature. Right, okay, great. And so I guess there's nowhere we can look at this online. I guess it's just literally.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I can.
Yeah. So if you go to worldfirsttaskforce.org, and I better spell that out because it's the number 1 and ST. So WROLD number 1 ST taskforce.org. You can sign up there, and we'll just keep you in the loop.
So thanks for sharing all of that with us. I mean, you sound like a very busy man, but is there anything else that you're working on as well?
Yeah, there's kind of my day job as well. So we're kind of in stealth mode, so not too much of a leak on this one. But what we've realised is there's a huge problem in the UK, and it's a scandal, a national scandal, the housing situation, and the fact generation rent, and the fact that the average age for first-time buyers who aren't bankrolled by wealthy parents, the Bank of Mum and Dad, which, by the way, is the 6th biggest mortgage lender in the UK, would you believe?
Mum and Dad.
The Bank of Mum and Dad, yeah. But if you haven't got that, 41, average age 41. That's a scandal. And actually, we've realised that we can use fractionalisation of domestic property, and some new models built around that to start to break that down and bring many more young families and professionals and the people who should be, getting into and getting their own homes. So we're hoping to bring that to market pretty quickly, but we're working very hard on that too.
So is that like a STO, or is that just a...
It's too early to announce our plans, really, but watch this space.
What's the company called?
So look out for Unrent.
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 Okay. No, because obviously I know the government obviously did shared ownership a few years back, right? I guess that's like only 50-50 or whatever it is. But I guess people are already starting to, even people that are not into blockchain, like understand like, okay, like taking fractionalization of houses. Like me personally, I went into shared ownership as a young buyer. I couldn't do it if I didn't want to. So sorry, if I wanted to. So otherwise, so yeah, obviously you got a huge market there. So I'll definitely be interested. Unrent, yeah.
Unrent. Unrent. In fact, if you go online to unrent.org, you can probably, I'm sure you'll be able to leave your email address and we'll keep you posted.
So that's specifically for UK market?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, perfect. Well, thanks, Barry, for joining us. It was a very insightful chat today. Have you already spoken today at the...
We're launching, I'll be speaking at 4:25 this afternoon.
4:25 this afternoon. So, guys, 4:25, we'll watch Barry do a talk. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this.
Thank you. Guys, that's the AK TV. Make sure you subscribe below. Thanks for joining us.